And we're live. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is Hurricane Ross. I'm here with Kevin Harwood right now doing a live interview regarding the station, which we just played a couple weeks ago. Had a great time, so we appreciate that. Kevin, thank you for the opportunity to play that game, by the way. We had a lot of fun.
That's great to hear.
So the first question we got is we want to know more about you, Kevin, where you came from with video games, how you got into them, and how your path to becoming a developer.
It's all very simple. I worked in a lot of, my background's actually in marketing. I'm not really a developer. I was working on so many of the larger titles and working with all the different teams that were developing the big AAA franchises. And I started getting really close with them. We started having a lot of after hours hangouts. And a lot of these guys are late stage career. They're not necessarily motivated by the same things that younger guys would be in the gaming industry in terms of stability or pay. They're more interested in passion projects, things that really are of interest to them. So I pitched the majority of them on this concept, and we all just got together the next week and started working on it. And that's how the game started.
Fantastic. Good to hear. So I guess on that note, where did the inspiration from the station come from?
So I love exploration narrative video games. I'm really not much of an action game player or a shooter. I really enjoy theater and narrative and anything to do with a really rich story. So whatever medium it is, it could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be TV, any form of interactive or just fiction that really delves into story is something I love. So I've been playing through so many of the what I call first-person narrative titles. So anything from Vanished New Ethan Carter to Gone Home. I really enjoyed getting into the story. I personally am exhausted with games that are built around mechanics. I do not find that as interesting as a really good story, and that just is my nature. So I really enjoyed the idea of working in this genre by progressing it, by bringing in a lot of the top talent who have worked on a lot of the major franchises and saying, let's try and take this emerging genre, which is storytelling narrative, something that's so foreign to a lot of gamers, a game where there's no gun, a game where there's no combat, no enemy. It's just about the enjoyment of the story. So the idea was for us to just jump in and really take high-level production mechanics, bring that into the more independent field and focus on this genre.
Okay. Cool. So how did you settle on the idea of a spaceship, a space station investigating an alien race undercover, basically? I mean, the idea was that the aliens on the planet had no idea that the space station was there. So how did we come to that idea?
I really wish I had a really cool origin story as to how this came up with. I do a lot of botany. I do a lot of plants. I love plants. So I was walking around a plant store and the idea came. And that's really the genesis of all this. Now, I loved the premise of being able to interact with themes that are not commonly done in the mainstream gaming industry. I mean, so much of what science fiction is dominated around right now it kind of bores me. And I recognize I don't want to be cynical about the industry, but I found the same things being rehashed over and over again. Dystopian, futuristic society, scarcity of X and problems with Y. And I was just finding it a little bit too repetitive. The idea of moving into a more optimistic or a more progressive form of gameplay in the sci-fi genre was really interesting to me. The idea that, we're not just all running around complaining about our scarcity and our problems, but we're more interested in research and study. As I've gotten older, I've been less focused on problems that I see immediately around me and more interested in the things I'm genuinely passionate about. So to me, this is from an existential standpoint, this is a more coming of age story where you're more interested in moving away from who's the enemy, more interested in figuring out what do we have in common and what are we passionate about studying. So that's the real backstory for how the core story came together.
Okay. I'm interested that you mentioned the who's the enemy part, because that was actually a lot of the conversation that my community and I had after we finished the game was who was the actual enemy in the story. There was so many storylines buried within the main line, backstories on the characters that raised so many questions. So you had you had 3 of your main characters, most of which had motive for this station going down. And a lot of the question was, is there an actual person in the lore of this game that's at fault for the station shutting down?
That's a great question. When this story, I was working with a small team of writers on producing the story, and as we got deeper and deeper, the thing that I really didn't enjoy so much about older stories, whether it's Disney, every story has a stark villain that you can point out and go, oh, they're the enemy, they're the problem, and you have to vanquish them. And I find that so much less interesting than reality, which is everyone, you could look at people and go, they're a bad person, or I don't like this person, but everyone is just motivated by something different. And it's when you look at the raw motivations, it's hard to, unless they're like an actual supervillain who's just trying to destroy everything, it's very hard to, in real life, find who's a villain. So I was really interested in taking a real life snapshot of all the characters' different motivations and stitching them into the story to really create a player experience where when we were doing our small group testing, what we would ask every single person is, so who did it? Who was at fault here? And we knew the story was done when we wouldn't get the same answer twice in the same group, because everyone had their own perspectives. And everyone would walk away from it saying, well, my base personality is X, and so I really connected with this character, so I just instinctively paid a lot more attention to them, so I think they did it. Or the inverse, where I really like them, so I think that a lot of the actions that they took, well, it could be construed as bad. I don't think they were bad. So it really allows you to decide who you think did it. But at the end of the day, I don't like those answers. So I have the person who did it absolutely like on my whiteboard to my right. But no, the whole goal was that for the near future, I don't have any intention of saying exactly who did it. My favorite part is talking with people and reading some of the things that I've seen online regarding who did this. That's the most interesting part about this.
Yeah, because it was fantastic, because we finished the main storyline together in my community on stream, and we were all kind of reeling at the end. We're like, wait a minute, there's no closure. So we actually took the time live to go into the free roam and investigate the areas that we had missed, and it uncovered so much more of the story. And like you said, it was very open. It could have gone one way with one of the characters, and it could have gone another way with one of the secondary characters, and I loved that about it. I loved the mystery. Those are the kind of games I enjoy playing. Those are the kind of games that my community enjoys watching, is those open-ended, okay, you've got to solve it, but maybe that's not necessarily the right answer.
Right.
So my next question on that is and maybe I don't want to like spoil the game for anybody who hasn't played it yet, because if you haven't played it yet, The Station is a fantastic game to go in and grab and do a playthrough of. It's a lot of fun, and if you're into those thriller kind of things, jump scares are plenty. I have a video posted on my YouTube page of the first episode of playing The Station, and just about every 5 seconds, whenever I hear a door shut, I've got a jump scare, because those doors are extremely loud. Anyway, my question is, who is the person in the spacesuit that we encounter at the beginning? Because we were thrown for a loop later in the game when we find out that it seems that the aliens, but also the people on the station, are wearing the same gear. So is that something you'd be willing to give a direct answer on, or is that another one of those mystery, find it out for yourself kind of things?
So the story was drafted extremely carefully with, story beats, with all the different beats and sequences drafted out very carefully. Nothing is a mistake. Nothing is oh, that doesn't seem right. If you carefully think about everyone who you interacted with at every moment, based on what you were learning, you're able to come to your own conclusion. But we have a sort of a rule in the team that we don't give. The whole goal of the story was to show, don't tell. So we keep that same true with our discussion of it.
Okay, fantastic. So I guess my last question for you is, I was kind of scrolling through the station Twitter the other day, and I saw some kind of teasers, so to speak, in some of the tweets about future projects. Do you have anything coming up here in the next couple months or even years that we should be excited for? I know the station is less than a year old, coming up in February, I believe, on Xbox One. But what other projects is your development team working on?
So we actually are a bit of a weird setup. Everyone I know in the industry has a studio, but they don't have any games. They're still working on their first game. We thought it'd be really funny to be the reverse. We're a team that has a game but no studio. So all of us are just independent contractors that are all close friends. We've all worked together for years, but we didn't have a desire to create a studio that we would just be churning out content. We're right now finishing the sort of the closure on the station. We've been as I think it's pretty well known now, we are bringing the station to virtual reality onto Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and PlayStation VR. So all of the VR versions are coming out, as well as one more version that I can't give a definitive answer on, but it's another console. So you can probably guess, but I'm just not allowed to say it, apparently. So that's coming up, as well as we have a, I think I've teased this as well, and it's been announced, so I can say we are bringing the station to physical retail around the world. We will be bringing the console version with a digital deluxe version that's going to have a lot of extra fun goodies inside of it. That stuff that most studios couldn't dream of giving away. Because we're independent, we can give like everything to do with our documentation away, everything to do with how we built the game, everything. So we're giving everything away in this digital deluxe version that's going to be sold in stores retail. And so that's what we're working on right now. We're making sure that everything is up and up to work with our publisher on that. And while, yes, we have a backlog of projects that we are really excited to move on, a major thing for us was that gaming right now is in a very interesting standpoint. I'm genuinely, wholeheartedly so grateful that the station had such an amazing reception and that it did well. So many games. I have so many friends that work on titles for years, and it comes out and they don't get any attention, and it leads to a massive, the project, does not succeed, and it's a major financial loss. That can be devastating for a project. So I'm really grateful that we did so well. And there's still so many more things related to the station coming down the track. So it's just all gravy at this point. We are more my role as a producer, and I'm very interested in how you produce games cost effectively. How do you create a constant string of productions that don't basically require you to hit the lottery every time you release a game. So right now I'm investigating and doing some serious talks with a lot of different publishers that all of your viewers and yourself probably know. My goal is I'm genuinely interested in producing story games. I love producing story games. I'm not so interested in the financial aspect of this. So my goal is to find a really reliable way that will have consistent support to produce titles. And so while I'm unable to say about future projects, I'm not allowed to say anything yet about them, we are all very excited about producing things in the future.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. I actually love story games myself. I like the lore behind stuff. I actually frustrate a lot of other people that I play with because of games like Fallout and such, where they're all rushing off, and I'm like, wait a minute, guys, we got to take a look at this lore here. We got to find out more about this. So it's good to hear. I think that's something that the gaming industry really does need more of. We need more of those story-driven games. So I'm glad that there is a group out there that's bringing those in. So I guess just a final question for you. What is your favorite game? I mean, you didn't just get into developing or as a producer because for video games because you saw the posting. Obviously, you have a passion for gaming as an individual. So what is your favorite game series or something like that you can share with my community here?
I think so. I wish I had and this sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's genuine. I've never been able to be really, really, really immersed in video games. I find I'm so much more social and relational in my activities. And so games to me have always been something that are fun to do with someone, or they're fun to do for a specific purpose. But when I was younger, when I had lots of free time, I of course played all the interesting MMOs like Guild Wars, But as an adult, I'm more interested in the social aspect of it. So these days, I'm consulting on a bunch of different technology projects, and what I find so fun is, instead of having a meeting, you'll have a scrum where you're playing PUBG or something and just talking while you're doing drops, or whether it's you have after you have some friends over and you're playing Beat Saber on VR. The interesting thing about being a game developer is you end up getting every console, and for some reason you have 3 of them. I'm staring at 4 virtual reality devices in this room, and so you get to play all the fun things. And so I'm having a great time checking out. While I was working on the station, I wasn't playing any games. It was definitely my lifeblood was going into that project. So now that I'm done that production, I feel very free to explore what everyone else is working on. And the gaming community, anyone who works on games and is has a consistent and dedicated approach to it, everyone knows each other. Everyone is hanging out on Skype together, and we're all on a good close basis with each other. And so we all just share each other's games. And so what I'm having so much fun doing is checking out what some of my friends have been working on, and really pouring into what's new, because it's you sort of have to pick if you're going to be doing something or if you're going to be learning. You can't really do both at one time. One of the worst mistakes I made was while I was working on the station, there was a title that came out that I thought, oh, this could be great for research. And I picked it up, and all I started to do was second guess what I was working on. All I started to do was go, well, maybe I've screwed up. Maybe I was really supposed to do this. And so a basic rule of thumb that I have is when you're working on a production, you don't play other titles that could be any conceivably thing close to what you're working on. So you keep a lot of objectivity. So again, the last few months have been a complete vacation from that rule, and it's so fun just fooling around. I pick up anything that's a strategy game that's interesting, and just fool around with friends. But PUBG would probably be the thing that's consuming the most of my time right now, because it's a fun social game.
All right, fantastic. All right, Kevin. Well, thank you for your time, guys. This is Kevin Harwood. I'm Hurricane Ross. Kevin's with the producer for the station. If you haven't checked out the station, please do. It's a great game, a lot of fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. You have a great day.